A college football tradition like no other.
Yes, sirree, boys and girls.
Or a guy that just won't leave.
Wow, that is sad.
The Dave Hooker Show. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Back to Dave Hooker.
Welcome, Travis. Welcome those on the message boards. Welcome into the program, as for the next hour or so, we'll take a look back at Tennessee's football scrimmage, the first scrimmage of spring camp, as the Vols have now had 7 practices culminating in the scrimmage on Saturday. So Josh Heupel was a little bit more insightful. I think he's getting tad looser around the media, Caleb, especially though in spring camp. So he might be more quotable. He is the best though at saying something and saying nothing at the same time.
Yeah, he gives a little bit away nowadays, a little bit more than he gave 2 years ago. Even from the scrimmage, there were a few things he said that I think that we'll get into kind of stood out a little bit that were, I think, I wouldn't say good news for Tennessee, but the only news you would have gotten would have been bad news, and it revealed that there was no bad news, if that makes sense. So I think that's good. That's a good sign for Tennessee.
Well, and I think he's smart too, because this is a way different market. I mean, where does UCF rank among the teams that need to be covered in Orlando? Probably not very high, and it's not much of a sports city anyway. It's a transient city that doesn't have loyal fans. So, this is a totally different situation. I would have said the same for Danny White when he was hired.
That's going to change in 5 years, 10 years. UCF's the biggest school in Florida. It is the sleeping giant of college football. I'm telling you.
No, I agree. Are they getting covered though? 50 media members a day.
Probably not. I mean, Orlando, there's so many other things to cover in Orlando. You're right, on a regular basis. So
I mean, that I think is a bigger challenge than most people realize. I mean, other than, I guess they've all grown now, but back in the day, Knoxville was definitely, I thought, the toughest SEC media market, because Vanderbilt doesn't count, because that's Vanderbilt.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Knoxville probably was the largest media market where there was no pro team. And even when the Titans came, and you know this, the Titans went to Nashville, the Grizzlies came to Memphis, and the Predators came to Nashville. None of that is in the Knoxville market. Knoxville's a totally separate market from Nashville and Memphis, completely. They're almost more Atlanta than Nashville.
Totally agree. It's today's tough question, and it's brought to you by AndyMasonRealEstate.com. He'll save you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. He brings you today's tough question.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Just that simple. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Over 40 years of experience in that office, and take care of you. Best service, best prices, period. End of discussion. Please hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, do so right now. Did you watch the women's final last night at all, Caleb Calhoun?
Watched a little bit of it, not too much. It was actually a boring game. I'm telling you that if South Carolina had played LSU, it would have been a much more exciting game to watch. I mean, I know South Carolina lost to Iowa, but they were the best team.
No, I agree. But the Caitlin Clark story was pretty neat. Did you feel like the officials got involved? Because I want to tie this back to Tennessee football, but I'm curious. A lot of people on social media, and I thought there were some chippy fouls. I thought they got involved. I don't know that it was intentionally involved.
I thought they got involved too much. And here, the only thing I would respond with that, though, is that people that are bringing that up a lot, them getting involved did not affect that game. That was going to be a boring game from the start. Iowa was just not tall enough to hang with LSU under the basket, and they just had no chance. Okay. But I do think they got involved to take away from that a little bit.
So I ask you this, and be an honest fan right now. Hit the thumbs up, and I want you to tell me, would you rather cheat and win, or just find out how the cookie crumbles, and then you're just going to go with honor? instead. What do you think most people will say? Because it is on our Twitter account at the Dave Hooker and at OTH Sports Media. They're honest. What do you think they'll say?
They'll say cheat and win. Have you asked, has any Tennessee football fan ever said, I regret how the 2004 Florida game played out because of that personal foul? That should not have been a personal foul on Dallas Baker.
Oh, nobody's going to say cheat.
Yes, they are, if they're honest.
Our crew.
Dave, do you think, why did Tennessee accept that penalty then? Why did they accept the personal foul penalty in 2004 against Florida? That was not a personal foul. You know the one I'm talking about, right? That set up the Will Hoyt game winner?
Yes, I know.
That was not a personal foul. You didn't see Tennessee come out and say, well, Jonathan Wade shoved first, so we shouldn't accept this personal foul. Nobody said that. Okay.
Cheat to win is always the answer. Billy Bob Cooter says. We appreciate that because you're being honest. So thank you very much. We've got more people that love cheating. Cheat to win is always the answer. Define cheat. I'm going to win, but depends on what kind of cheating. Okay, like I thought that LSU got a ton of favorable calls. You come away from that game at all saying, I don't know, really shouldn't have won that one. I mean, that's kind of, I don't know. Does Florida come away from the Jabbar Gaffney catch and say, really got away with that one?
Probably literally said that in the post-game interview.
Yeah.
Spurrier is the only coach that is honest about it.
So on our Twitter feed, and I love you guys. So right now it's 55% say honor is more important. Just
my gosh.
Yes, 44% say cheat and take the trophy. So thank you very much, loyal fans.
Those fans and Dave Hooker, you know who you guys are? Do you remember that sportsmanship commercial years ago where it was like they had this
the ball goes off the guy's leg?
Yes, and he's like, I touched it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Coach, I touched it.
Dave is definitely the guy that would be like, I touched it. Man, that commercial makes me mad to this day.
For some reason, I wouldn't do that. That's about the only thing. But no, I mean, you would want to have your honor, especially with the Josh Heupel, because Tennessee can win again and then look back and say, maybe that season didn't go the right way, but they could say, hey, guys, be proud, won 11 games with honor that year, and you come back the next year. You come back the next year and maybe you win 14 and a national title. But you have that one season of honor. That's what they want.
That is the lamest thing I have ever heard in my life. No, you take the win when you can get the win. Okay,
so does LSU feel bad at all? They got a million calls yesterday. Should 1998 Tennessee's football team, should they feel bad at all that they got a ton of breaks? They did.
I think they got. I'm gonna. You know what? I cannot wait to speak to Fred White to defend him and his honor on Friday.
Yes.
Speaking of this, because I think the narrative around the '98 team is so unfair. They had more breaks work against them than breaks work for them. Jamal Lewis went down with a season-ending injury. How is that a break?
Well, but they played the third-string Florida State quarterback. They had the bizarre Arkansas fumble. Florida imploded inside the 5-yard line, even though they had more yardage in the Florida game. They had a lot of breaks.
Okay, let's break these down, for no pun intended.
Okay.
T. Martin is unlucky to be the new starting quarterback, and your first 2 games are against the eventual Big East champion and arguably the most talented team in the SEC back-to-back. Those are the first 2 games of the year. The Arkansas game is the fakest narrative of all time. I'm gonna bring this up now. Okay, I should do a TikTok about this, by the way. There are 3 reasons the Clint Sterner fumble is one of the biggest lies in the history of college football.
Well, no, he fumbled. I saw him fumble.
No, the narrative is that Tennessee doesn't win the national title if Clint Sterner doesn't fumble. That's the narrative. There's 3 flaws in that. 1, Billy Ratliff doesn't get enough credit for causing that fumble because he got a heck of a push on the offensive
I agree with that. Yes.
That's point number 1. Point number 2, there was a minute 25 left. Tennessee had a timeout. They were going to get the ball back with about 30 seconds left, down by only 2 and having the most clutch kicker in college football that year. They easily could have kicked a game-winning field goal. Point number 3, and this is the biggest point. Had they lost to Arkansas, they still would have played them again in an SEC title game. They would have beaten them in that SEC championship game, and they still would have gone to the national title game with one loss, because if you look at their schedule strength in the BCS, it still would have been them in Florida State. Who would have gone over them with a one loss?
But you would agree that Arkansas should have run the ball there and not run play action.
I think they were trying to run the ball as a slow developing play, though, wasn't it?
No,
It was like a counter.
They ran the boot, and he faked the handoff, and then that's when he stumbled and fell and decided to lay the ball.
Yes, they should have run the ball. That was next level stupid. And Houston Nutt, who I actually think is a great in-game coach, funny enough, that was just next level dumb by him.
Portion of the program brought to you by Zool Beer, xulbeer.com. Zool Beer is fantastic, worldwide award-winning craft beer, and wow, they've got parking downtown, which you just don't hear of nowadays, and you will love Zool Beer, a great panoramic view of Knoxville. So your thoughts on practice over the weekend. Here are a couple of things that I'm hearing, and we will do that via 4 Downs. 4 Downs today brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. City Heat and Air, integrity matters at City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatingandair.com.
We know Dave believes integrity matters.
4 questions, 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
Downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Okay, so here's some things I'm hearing from spring camp. Again, this is not in response to the Dennis Dodd column about Nico, but I do think that maybe the first couple of days, as any freshman would, he would struggle just a little bit. But now Iko Maliava is had a good week of practice in week number 2, which was last week. So that's first down. Again, I think we're nitpicking at this point. Caleb, he's barely been on campus, but that is what I'm hearing and what I'll pass along.
Yeah, I had heard that he had actually taken a huge stride forward too. I think Jaru was telling us about this last Friday. By the way, we were talking with him about practice. He said that they were starting to see some better signs from Ia Maliava later in the week, into the second week of spring practice. So I don't think there was anything to worry about. You know, you have to rework sometimes a quarterback. That's fine. If he doesn't start this year, that's still fine, because there's Joe Milton. Look, how many quarterbacks now, we've talked about this. I mean, even in the NFL, they have to have their footwork and everything reworked over time. Aaron Rodgers had to be sent to a quarterback camp after his rookie year.
Yep.
And
sorry.
Sorry, you go ahead and say it. You go ahead and go.
No, I was just going to say, click that like button. It was nothing exciting. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's Aaron Rodgers had to be sent to a quarterback camp for a year, which you never would think that an NFL quarterback has to be sent to, but they had to retool everything about his game. So if you have to work on Nico's throwing motion and where he holds the ball, it's not a big deal, I don't think.
I don't think so either. Some more things that I'm hearing is that Cooper Mays did not participate, as Josh Heupel said on Saturday. He wasn't in the scrimmage here, and it's just a little ding that he could be back any day, maybe even today as the Vols practice. Cooper, I want to get into this in a second, so let's not bust it out right now. May be the most important non-quarterback on this football team. Let's have that debate here momentarily. Other things that I'm hearing at practice is I think Keenan Pili is going to be a really good football player, and I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later. Probably a little bit more of a leader. And 4th down, it's for you, Caleb. Squirrel White is having the best spring camp right now at the slot. And you like to transfer. You didn't love Squirrel. You shooed Squirrel off the back deck is what you did. And now Squirrel's lighting it up in 2 weeks of camp.
Yeah, I'm taking some L's because I'm taking some L's because I'm hearing the same thing. And quite honestly, Squirrel White was lighting it up last year as a freshman. I remember too. Was one of the standout early freshmen. And he might beat out Dante Thornton. I'll take the L if it happens, but it's not over yet, because Dante could still play one of the wideout spots, but that's not as special. Okay, a 6'4" wideout's not uncommon. A 6'4" slot guy is uncommon. So
I would love to see them have one guy that's versatile and plays both. Yeah, because that's what makes Tyreek Hill so scary. Is he's one of the few receivers in the NFL that can play all three positions and scare you.
Yeah, Cordell Patterson was that way at Tennessee.
Yeah, if he ran the right way.
That's true.
I mean, who's the most important player on Tennessee's team? That is not a quarterback. Stay tuned. Right back after this. And today's tough question: would you rather cheat or win, or just do your best? On the message board, go ahead and give me some comments, especially with that most important ball that's not a quarterback. Back in 2 minutes. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports.
And Craving Wings South North Shore location, where we've heard people say that you can get the best wings in East Tennessee. Pero ¿quién es este? El número 87, Jacob Warren.
I'll just do 6 in my sauce 87, please.
Imposible, señorita. Dale 6 más. Look at these wings. Perfectas, deliciosas, fantásticas.
Man, I don't know what you're saying, but it sounds awesome. How do you say fresh, never frozen in Spanish?
Frescas, nunca congeladas. Make your way to Craving Wings and get you 6 más.
But what was funny about Cadis, we were a full continuum of care at that time. We had detox, we had inpatient, we had outpatient. So we were doing a lot of the things that we do now. But now we just do them so much better. It's really a simple program, but we're complicated people. I am what I am, and now I got to do something about it.
You can take your life back. Call Cadis today.
Got cataracts? We can fix that. Never miss another moment. With a little help from Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn at cctis.com.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Our family has been creating jewelry since 1986, each piece unique with a story all its own. I'm Rick Terry with Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. I'm a jeweler, and I want to be your jeweler. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler. My family and staff look forward to serving you. So please come see us. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut and downtown on Gay Street, right next to the Tennessee Theater.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
Caleb, I'm mad at our audience. They're the best audience out there because I think they stole away the whole theme of this segment. Welcome back to the program. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. As I mentioned before, Cooper Mays out of Saturday's scrimmage. I think he'll be back today or possibly tomorrow, but it is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday practice week. So then you have the Easter break. Would it be horrible to hold him out for the entire week? I mean, they could. I think we'll know a little bit more on offthehooksports.com today. But the most important player that isn't in a quarterback room is whom? And this is who the message board says. So Elias has Jalen Wright. I think he could have a breakout year, but I think Tennessee has some depth there. Mr. Jones says Cooper Mays. And then Elias says Jalen Wright has the potential to be the best receiver on the field. Best player on the field, excuse me. And then Rebecca says Cooper Mays. It all starts with him. He has to be dialed in all the time. I think it is Cooper Mays, Caleb. And from what I've heard from the first 2 weeks of spring camp, they think it's Cooper Mays too, because it doesn't look like Jordan Addison is ready. So if something were to happen to Cooper Mays in the season, and remember
Addison Nichols, right? Not Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison's the USC receiver, I think.
No, yeah, not him. But if he shows up, I'm sure they can find a spot for him. Addison Nichols. So if Cooper couldn't go, they might have to reshuffle the offensive line, which you never want to do. And if you do, you're going to do in preseason camp usually. Obviously, you do not want to have to do that. I think Cooper Mays is the most important non-quarterback on this football roster.
On offense, you're right. I don't know if I can go all the way there because I have come around to somebody you brought up last week based on the reports I've been hearing and the reports you've been hearing, which is that I think Keenan Peele might be the most important non-quarterback now.
Okay.
We know how bad Tennessee's defense was when Jeremy Banks was suspended last year against South Carolina. Keenan Peele is...
It wasn't good even before he was suspended, but...
Oh, you're right. Well, it wasn't good, but it was okay. We might get like 3 to 4 stops a game. I think South Carolina scored a touchdown on all but one possession in that game. It was insane. It was like transformatively bad, like historically bad against South Carolina. And I think that Keenan Peele is there to fill the role, to fill the void Jeremy Banks left. And it sounds like he's doing it early on. So I got to go Keenan Peele at that point. Which I wanted to ask you, Dave, because one good sign, I think, for Tennessee, does this still apply? This used to in football. It used to be, wasn't it, that if the defense was ahead of the offense in spring, that was good news. But if the offense was ahead, that meant your defense was going to be awful.
Yes, that's still very, very true.
Okay, so it sounds like the defense right now is ahead of the offense in spring ball. So that's one decent sign for Tennessee right now.
No, you want to be ahead. If they weren't ahead, that there'd be an issue. Elias says defensively, it's Beasley. Aaron Beasley. It surprised me he led the team in tackles for a loss last year. So I think that's a significant one. But Keenan Peele, I think, can step in there and free up Beasley. So maybe it is Beasley on the defensive side. The defensive side's a little bit more challenging. At some point, Caleb, a defensive back has to emerge, right? Whether it's Jalen McCullough without the off-field issue that may have not been his fault or whatever, a guy's got to take a next step. Right?
I think McCullough's going to have to be the one to hold the unit together. I don't know if a cornerback has to emerge. One didn't last year. I mean, it's...
And as we talked about it before, that's typically a natural skill set. If one was going to emerge, he probably already would have emerged. For those that haven't heard our take on the program before. Somebody has to emerge, even if it's the Matthews kid or the Gibson kid, the 2 incoming freshmen. Somebody has to emerge.
So, Dave, you covered this team, so I got a question. Is the cornerback play right now to you worse than it was on that 2000 Tennessee team, the one right after Deion Grant? I know he didn't play cornerback, but the one right after all those secondary players went pro?
So,
the one with Willie Miles?
Yeah. Well, from 98 to 2000, you went from Steve Johnson and Dwayne Goodrich at corner and Fred White and Deion Grant. To not them at corner or safety. I mean, yeah. Was that Willie Miles? I can't really remember any of the other players in 2000 that were on.
I think it was like the Willie Miles, Andre Lott, Rashad Baker, who were good at safety, I think. But Andre Lott played corner, didn't he? And
Lott played corner. He turned into a good player. It just seemed like there were a lot of guys that didn't get a lot of playing time. You got to remember that group before them was really selfish. They wanted all the practice time.
Oh,
they wanted the practice time. It was, yeah.
I mean, you got a championship to play for. You need the practice time, so.
Yeah, and they thought they had too. And I still say that 99 team's better than 98 team because they allowed T. Martin to do more things.
They did, including things they shouldn't have allowed them to do, like calling a play action on 2nd and 3 when they're in field goal range against Florida down by 2.
Did you remember that? Right
I'm saying you're in field goal. It was right after the Deion Grant interception. I'm sure we were all I'm sure you were covering the game. I was watching it. I'm sure you all thought after that Deion Grant interception in 99 Florida that Tennessee was certainly going to win that game at that point.
Now, this question for you. So who isn't replaceable on this Tennessee football team?
Well, we got Cooper Mays and Keenan Peele are not replaceable. They're not.
Okay, but they're the ones. And Peele's a little bit of a reach for you. I mean, he just showed up on campus, but I'll give you Peele.
By default, being competent makes him irreplaceable.
I'll give you Peele, but
Omari Thomas.
It's probably the next tier. They could survive, but it would be a major blow. So the top tier is just can't lose them. The second tier is ouch, this is going to hurt.
Okay, what about Gerald Mincy? I think he's going to emerge in the top tier this year.
I think he'll emerge. I wouldn't put him there as of April the 3rd.
Okay. There is no receivers irreplaceable. The receivers are all replaceable.
Just because there are other good ones.
Yes, exactly. There's so many good ones, and Josh Heupel's system allows for so many of them to be good too. McCullough, I would say McCullough. I would go and do McCullough. I would give McCullough that. I mean, he's the only experienced safety out there.
Coming up, can anybody beat Georgia but Georgia? Is it basically in their hands, even though Stetson Bennett is gone? Portions of the program brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Stay tuned. Can somebody beat Georgia beside the Bulldogs? I think I have a team. I'll tell you after this, 2 minutes.
I know you like the heat. You got to try my signature sauce 87. Dude, you know I love you and I love to try your wing sauce. But when it comes to wings, I need them really hot. I hit 105 on the radar gun. I need to be pretty spicy. Yeah, I know that, man. Look, if sauce 87 isn't enough for you, I guess you can try the Holy Moses or the Grim Reaper. Now we're talking.
Take it from these Farragut admirals. When you're craving wings, it's got to be Craven Wings. Visit them online at cravenwings.com.
With all that sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Before Cadis, I was really heavy into the drug culture. I was selling drugs. I was just constantly in pain. I was missing like a good support system in my life. Cadis has given me everything that I need in order to successfully have a wonderful recovery, in order to have a life that I didn't even know was possible. And it's not just about me anymore, and I love that. I absolutely love it.
You can take your life back. Call Cadis today.
Our family has been creating one-of-a-kind pieces of jewelry in West Knoxville since 1986. Each piece is a combination of unique processes that bring your idea to life. Every day in our shop, a truly special item with a story all its own is being manufactured in our facility, bringing the history and family sentiment into a whole new generation of life. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler, a title that we value and respect. Because to me, being a jeweler and owning a jewelry store are not the same thing. I'm Rick Terry. I'm a jeweler, and we want to be your jeweler. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street right next to the Tennessee Theater.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
Welcome back. Portions of the program brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Look at me. No LASIK, no glasses. No LASIK. I got LASIK. No contacts, no glasses. Having a Monday, Caleb. Work with me. And I had LASIK. And I'm in great shape. I can see up close. I can see far away. I'm golden. I had my final checkup last week. They are awesome, and they care about me. Found another issue that my other eye doctor was able to take care of. They also have different eye vision centers. They're awesome. Cataracts too. They can take care of that. It's awesome not having contacts or glasses. So he's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports, And again, Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, their doctors are local. So there was a column over the weekend, and it concerned the University of Georgia. And basically the context was, can anybody beat Georgia but themselves? I ask you that question. What the age?
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Can anybody beat Georgia but Georgia this year? You know what I mean, Caleb. They have to show up like they did against Missouri last year. They have to show up with a B-, C+ game. Not even tank it. I'm not talking about a D. I'm talking about a B-, C+ game and lose. Can they show up and that happen to these Georgia Bulldogs that return, I believe, 73% of their production on defense and somewhere along the lines of 60-something on offense? Pretty impressive group coming back a year after they won their second national title with a bunch of new guys on a vaunted defense.
Yes, but not on their – I don't know if it's on their schedule, on their regular season schedule. I think that Tennessee is the best chance to beat them on their regular season schedule. If you look at their schedule, it's just – it's another awful schedule. I mean, they're the toughest for them outside of Tennessee is probably a trip to Auburn, because as much as I despise him as a human being, Hugh Freeze is a great coach, but it's Hugh Freeze's first year. So I don't think Hugh Freeze is going to have the horses to beat Georgia this year. I think that the closest is probably Tennessee. They get Ole Miss at home the week before, but that's at home. You think they're losing to Lane Kiffin at home?
Hugh Freeze could stack some stuff in the offseason because that would be a monster win. That could be one of those where you save some stuff. But you're right. I mean,
yeah.
Georgia's going to be a 13-point favorite.
Right, exactly. I think the best chance to beat Georgia is, not trying to tease anything, guys, but maybe the next Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, the team they might face again in the SEC championship game. I'm talking about LSU. I'm on a watch out for a potential LSU dynasty happening very, very soon, guys.
I think that could happen, but I think that's a year away. I'm going to say Alabama, absolutely, because Nick Saban is now playing Georgia at Georgia's own game. Okay, so he's saying, I'm going to go back to being a little bit more conservative. I'm going to control the ball. I'm going to have an equal emphasis on defense. Now, this is the opposite of what Josh Heupel is doing. I think it's the best thing for Josh Heupel, and eventually I think he will tweak that in that you have more of those 4-minute offensive drives and you have more defensive players that you can provide depth when your team's going up and down the field. But right now, the two teams that are going to be successful running it a little bit more conservatively at the elite level are going to be Georgia and Alabama. And if they're playing the same game, I'm going to take Alabama. I think that Alabama can beat them in an SEC title. I'm not disagreeing with you on LSU. I just want to see it. I think that I'll take Nick Saban against Brian Kelly right now, and I want to see that talent at LSU, which it probably will, get to the Alabama level.
All right, I'm going to totally disagree with you on this.
Disagree away.
Let's get heated, Dave. Let's go. Put your boxing gloves on. No, I think Alabama's the 1 year away. I think this Alabama team that we're going to see this year would get obliterated by Georgia. I don't think the talent is there on Alabama this year. They're either going to have the worst quarterback in the SEC starting for them, or they're going to have a freshman who hasn't started at all this year and who is not Bryce Young. And so I think this is a rebuilding year for Alabama, and I cannot believe I'm saying those words are coming out of my mouth. But Alabama is going to have a rebuilding season this year. I could see 8-4.
Oh, well, I don't think that's going to happen. Let's remember this. I mean, they lost 2 games at the last second to Tennessee and LSU.
They won 5 in the last second, it felt like.
Was that? Yeah.
It seemed like they won 5 in the last second, though. So.
Well, that's true. You can play that either way. But the reason I don't think that Alabama will be in as much of a rebuilding year, and you got to remember, Georgia is replacing their most successful quarterback of all time, Caleb. So that's not rebuilding as far as top to bottom, but you lose that dude. I mean, would you rather lose Peyton Manning or 4 good defensive players? In retrospect, Peyton Manning. But most cases you would save that quarterback. So, I mean, they have to replace that guy. He was so money in the fourth quarter, so there's a rebuilding effort there.
Would you rather lose Stetson Bennett or Bryce Young? Come on.
No, I would. No, definitely, I would rather lose Bryce Young. There's no question. I'm sorry, rather lose Stetson Bennett. I would want to hold on to Bryce Young. I'm trying to think though of what is around Alabama currently. I kind of moved on to the next thing without telling you. What does Alabama have in terms of skill position players? Because as good as Bryce Young was, I think he had a bunch of guys in the skill position players that weren't very good. They take a step up in that regard for Alabama standards.
See, this is the thing. Nick Saban
Alabama can beat them on a B day.
Alabama absolutely could, but Georgia's not going to have a B day when they face Alabama. See, I think LSU.
They had a B game in the semifinal last year. They admitted to it.
Yes, but again, it's Ohio State's not Alabama. I think Kirby Smart wants to beat Nick Saban every time he faces them. And it's a little bit different. I'm still on the part of this is who are they going to have the B day against? I'm sorry. I'm higher than you on Brian Kelly. They do have their quarterback back. They had a top 5 recruiting class, which, by the way, you talk about politicking and recruiting all the time. You've educated me on that. There's politicking with LSU recruiting. Louisiana recruits are the most underrated recruits in all of college football. If you look at where their star ratings is and how many of them go to the NFL and turn into superstars.
True.
They are Nashville kids are the most overrated in the country. I'm going to say it. I say it. Tennessee fans, you can get mad at me all day. Nashville recruits are the most overrated recruits on recruiting services.
They are so far. I think that has to change just from a number standpoint. At some point, 5-10 years from now, I think it has to change. But anyway, yes, it's kind of like you look at Aaron Rodgers and you're like, forget about those other Bill Tedford quarterbacks. That guy's really good. I just think at some point it has to be a good area.
You might be right. It's got to change at some point. But since I've been covering, Nashville kids have been the most overinflated recruits by far. And Louisiana kids have been the most underrated recruits by far. And maybe it's because LSU fans don't get on the internet. Maybe they don't know what it is yet. And so there's no reason to politic for LSU fans. But they got a top 5 recruiting class that was very Louisiana heavy this past year, if you look at it. And
so when you say politicking for LSU, I don't think there's politicking for LSU to get better ratings. I don't think Brian.
No, that's my point.
Yeah, I don't think Brian Kelly's the type of coach that cares. I think they have high ratings anyway. I always thought the only reason they got dinged a little bit, which I never did this when ranking a guy, and I didn't do star ratings and all that stuff, but I never mentioned grades. And I know there were serious grade issues, much like Memphis at one point, inner city Memphis and inner city New Orleans. And a lot of kids that could play, and you know their name now, could not get out of those two areas. And I wonder sometimes, I always wondered if a guy was a 3-star instead of a 4-star, was it because that analyst knew he wasn't really getting into school, so the 4-star gets more clicks? I always wondered that a little bit with Memphis and New Orleans kids.
Yeah, but the big difference is since the advent of the lottery scholarship, which came in 2003, I think, to the state of Tennessee, Tennessee has held at least some bit of a standard, not like a high standard for athletes, but some form of standard. I don't think LSU has any standard. I think LSU is like West Virginia at that point. I mean,
Virginia. You've got to go to West Virginia and watch a football game.
West Virginia has zero academic standards, guys, for their athletes. It's a notorious thing. Not Pat White. Listen to myself. Rich Rodriguez built that program on basically DMV athletes who couldn't get into any of the DMV schools.
DMV is, for those that don't know,
DC, Maryland, Virginia. That DC area right there.
I learned that when I was up in that way. All right.
So the reason they call up here, you don't go to the DMV, you go to the MVA to get your license because it's too confusing to go to the DMV.
Yeah. And then right down the road, there's the CIA and DEA and all that good stuff. So a lot of acronyms in your area, but yes, once you learn the DMV, you feel like you're really hip to that area. I believe in my heart that in a straight up game, both teams play B+, that Alabama can beat Georgia.
I think they can. I just don't think they will. Look, this is going to be Nick Saban's worst team since 2010. I am telling you that now. This is Nick Saban's worst team since 2010.
What'd they go in 2010?
They went 10-3.
Well, that's still pretty good.
They got blown out by South Carolina that year.
I don't think LSU's ready, but in this transfer portal world, maybe they are. We'll have some Tennessee recruiting news. Hang tight with me for 2 minutes more on the Vols and why there's another team that maybe.
I know you like the heat. You got to try my signature sauce 87. Dude, you know I love you and I love to try your wing sauce, but when it comes to wings, I need them really hot. I hit 105 on the radar gun. I need to be pretty spicy. Yeah, I know that, man. Look, if sauce 87 isn't enough for you, I guess you can try the Holy Moses or the Grim Reaper. Now we're talking.
Take it from these Farragut Admirals. When you're craving wings, it's got to be Craven Wings. Visit them online at cravenwings.com.
With all that sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare. Before Cadis, I was really heavy into the drug culture. I was selling drugs. I was just constantly in pain. I was missing like a good support system in my life. Cadis has given me everything that I need in order to successfully have a wonderful recovery, in order to have a life that I didn't even know was possible before. And it's not just about me anymore, and I love that. I absolutely love it.
You can take your life back. Call Cadis today.
Our family has been creating one-of-a-kind pieces of jewelry in West Knoxville since 1986. Each piece is a combination of unique processes that bring your idea to life. Every day in our shop, a truly special item with a story all its own is being manufactured in our facility, bringing the history and family sentiment into a whole new generation of life. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler, a title that we value and respect. Because to me, being a jeweler and owning a jewelry store are not the same thing. I'm Rick Terry. I'm a jeweler, and we want to be your jeweler. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street right next to the Tennessee Theater.
The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
So, Kim Mulkey, things worked out for her. Your thoughts on the conclusion of the women's Final Four?
Couldn't happen to a worse person to win the national championship. And that's in a sport that has Gino Auriemma.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on this. First of all, it was incredibly disappointing because I think for the first time in a long time, and I'm talking about UConn, Tennessee dominance days, the women's game took over March. I think this is the Caitlin Clark March. And no matter what happens in the championship game for the guys, I think it's the Caitlin Clark March. I think we all watched she had the 40-point triple-double. She was fantastic. I think it'll always be that. So, nevertheless, you do have an LSU team that enraged social media. And I'm not sure how much of the game you watched, but at the same time, Give us a little bit of background for those that don't know about Kim Mulkey. You say she's a terrible human being. I wasn't aware of some of this. Let me hear it from you.
So this was right on the heels of the Art Briles scandal in 2016, the Baylor scandal. And I want to be fair, it's a little hazy on how much Art Briles should be held accountable for that. I'm going to be fair to him on that. It was just there, but we know it was a bad scandal. You know the scandal I'm talking about, Dave.
Right, but let's give a little bit more context for those that don't. It was essentially sexual assaults and just really, really poor behavior that was criminal was being covered up, we believe, by the football program, so it didn't get to a legal level. Basically, is it right?
Yeah. Exactly.
It was what every coach has probably tried at some point in their life, except it was widespread and it was common. Show up, and that's how you do business.
And it went all the way to the top at Baylor.
Right.
It went all the way to the president, Ken Starr, at the time, who ironically was the guy that led the impeachment charges in the 90s over the Monica Lewinsky scandal.
Right.
So, yes, it went all the way to the top. Within months of Art Briles getting fired over that and Ken Starr stepping down and everybody getting in trouble, Kim Mulkey comes out and says, if somebody's around you and they say, I will never send my daughter to Baylor, you knock them right in the face. That's what she said.
So why do you have a major problem with this?
I think it is one thing to try to reform the institution and stand for your institution and say, we want to be better going forward. I don't want this to be a stain on Baylor forever. It is another thing to be defiant. This was a defiant quote to say, who cares what happened at Baylor? And who cares what our football team did? And I don't care how anybody feels. This was a legitimate concern. By the way, I said the same thing because in case you, and for those of you who don't remember, Tennessee was just on the heels of settling a sexual assault lawsuit with, there was a group that filed it. Remember that in 2016 when Dave Hart had that cringe press conference with all the coaches?
Oh, yeah, I do. Oh, that was
and I thought Butch Jones should have been fired then. The minute Butch Jones said this is hurting Tennessee in recruiting, I'm like, that you should be fired on the spot when you say something like that. It was the issues that were coming up against Tennessee were, you could question some of them. The A.J. Johnson one, he was found innocent. They re-drug up the Peyton Manning one in part of this lawsuit, which was like, that was 20 years old. That was stupid. You can address those, but what you don't say is, stop calling us out for sexual assault. It's hurting us in recruiting. You should be fired on the spot when you say something stupid like that.
Okay, I read it as there was a small problem, which that's relative. It was a widespread problem in the football department. But if she's talking about whether or not you should send your kid to Baylor and you're basing it just off that scandal, I think that would be stupid because I don't know this. Baylor may have an incredibly safe campus. There may have just been a little group of people that were unsafe, and they were also football players. So I'm trying to.
I'm tired of hearing about the scandal.
What?
She also said, "I'm tired of hearing about the scandal." Within months.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Like she is. And by the way, and also I'm going to say this with Kim Mulkey. If you're one of her players, she doesn't back her players that much, and that's always annoyed me to a certain degree. I feel like, where was she yesterday when all the stuff was coming at Angel Reese? You know, you can feel however you want to feel about Angel Reese doing this at the end. The fact of the matter is, she was doing that to Caitlin Clark because Caitlin Clark had been doing that the whole tournament. I defended Caitlin Clark. I'm defending Angel Reese. You have every right to do it. If you want to talk trash, fine, but then don't complain when you lose and someone talks trash to you for losing.
Okay, but here's the question I have for you. You have somebody that is a proven winner, and the last time they did something like this, where you could look back at their past and you could say there's a questionable thing going on, it would be really with the basketball program. It would be Donnie Tyndall, because he had the unresolved issues of grade fixing, and then you would say Bruce Pearl. They really haven't done anything like this. I've heard nothing from a Josh Heupel. I heard nothing. I heard some stuff about Jeremy Pruitt when he was hired. I didn't hear anything bad about Butch Jones. Didn't hear anything bad about Derek Dooley. So you knew this going in. Don't you think, though, the Tennessee fan base would rather have Kim Mulkey and a national title today than they would having their honor and Kelly Harper, who seems to struggle to get the right players in the game?
Yes, I do. I don't think it's right, but I do. I mean, put it this way. It's very similar to the. Let's compare the Kim Mulkey thing that what I was talking about to the Greg Schiano thing in 2017, because I'm going to be honest about Tennessee fans nixing the Greg Schiano hire. If Greg Schiano had the same scandal, but it was Nick Saban, they wouldn't have nixed the hire. Yes. Were they up? What the problem is, people need to understand this is how sports works. Your success has to outweigh your scandals. And Greg Schiano did not have enough success to outweigh the baggage that came with him. It's the same, by the way, with athletes. And I've said this for a while. People talk about both sides of the debate. People say Tim Tebow was blackballed for his faith. They say Colin Kaepernick was blackballed for the stance he took. If Aaron Rodgers had that same stance, he wouldn't have been blackballed. Your success has to outweigh your baggage. It's just that simple. And
I still say that if Ray Rice had been at an elite level, he would have found a job after he decked his wife. He had started the slide. He had started the slide. It was a running back. So why would you take a running back when you can get those guys absolutely anywhere? Some things that I want to see out of Tennessee's third week of spring practice. 2 minutes, right back with you. Your thoughts. What would you like to see out of camp? What would you like us to keep our peepers out for? Give me some input on the message board. We greatly appreciate that. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Back in 2 minutes off the Hook Sports. And I'll tell you something about Vassy Lawn and Garden.
To own the more that owns every job, then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Our family has been creating one-of-a-kind pieces of jewelry in West Knoxville since 1986. Each piece is a combination of unique processes that bring your idea to life. Every day in our shop, a truly special item with a story all its own is being manufactured in our facility, bringing the history and family sentiment into a whole new generation of life. We're grateful that you chose us to be Knoxville's best jeweler, a title that we value and respect. Because to me, being a jeweler and owning a jewelry store are not the same thing. I'm Rick Terry. I'm a jeweler, and we want to be your jeweler. Kingston Pike and Campbell Station Road in the heart of Farragut, and downtown on Gay Street right next to the Tennessee Theater.
With all that sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center. Ah.
What's up, everybody? This is University of Tennessee tight end Jacob Warren, proud to announce that I'll be working with Craven Wings again this season. And I want you to give your all and try my signature sauce, Sauce 87, at either of the Craven Wings 2 locations, Chapman Highway in Seymour and South North Shore Drive at the Markets of Choteau. When you're craving wings, it's gotta be Craven Wings. Online at cravenwings.com.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
Let's get into some questions about the football Vols as what do they need to accomplish in week 3 suddenly of spring camp. And that's brought to you by Craft Treats, crafttreats.com. If you go to crafttreats.com, use the promo code Off the Hook. That's the promo code Off the Hook, and you will get 20% off your purchase. They've got the CBD chill pills that will help with your dog's arthritis, stomach issues, or how about anxiety? They can do that too. But they've got all kinds of treats, CBD or not. So check them out. Mr. Jones had a practice question. Will Christian Harris and Rodney Harrison's son see any time at safety? I think it's wide open for pretty much everybody. Mr. Jones, I'll ask about him specifically. However, I do think there are people ahead of him in the depth chart at this point, Caleb.
Yeah, I think so too. There has been in the past, there have been defensive backs more than other positions who are sons of former players who were more ready early on to play, didn't necessarily have high potential, so they usually got surpassed by their sophomore, junior years. I'm thinking more. I have a lot of respect for the guy, but Todd Kelly Jr. And I'm also thinking Balin Buchanan when he committed to Tennessee. A lot of them, they were ready to go early, but they just. A lot of times they're ready to go early because you know the game, but you don't really develop that much, which that may be all Tennessee needs at safety this year is somebody who's ready to go.
Yeah, and just because I think this is funny because I was watching this power lifter documentary and the two brothers were like 6'5" and 6'7", and the parents were 6 feet and 5'6". Just because you have parents of a specific genetic makeup physically doesn't mean you're going to carry that gene. It doesn't mean. I mean, here's a great example. James Berry had it at almost elite level. Eric Berry had it at an elite level, and the Berry brothers almost an elite level.
Elliot and Evan.
Yeah, I can't tell you if that was just work ethic, but to me, I think that genetics are not a guarantee that Peyton Manning's dad, Archie Manning, is going to have quarterback sons propping up left and right. And
that's actually the craziest one, though, because Peyton Manning, you would think he had his dad's genetics because he became a great quarterback, but he did not have his dad's athletic ability at all. Not even close.
They're completely different players.
Yeah. And Eli was closer to Peyton, I feel like, than his dad. But then here comes Arch, who's more like his granddad, Archie.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been told at this point, and I would think so. So other things that you want to see develop at spring camp this week, obviously we want to see Cooper get healthy as he was held out Saturday's camp. I'll be interested to see if he's not, though, who they may put in that second string center position, because I'm not sure the guys behind him are ready. Could they give another guy some work there that plays guard currently? As far as the secondary, I want to hear more about, or the second level of coverage, I should say. I want to hear more about what Aaron Beasley is able to do with Keenan Peely, freeing him up a little bit. So that's important. And then I think that, it's, Tennessee's defense won the day on Saturday by all accounts, but Caleb, they need to win the day on offense. We're dealing with just a couple of weeks left. I mean, you want your offense to look good to give Joe Milton some confidence in the offseason.
Yeah. For me, the most important thing is me being proven right. That's more important than anything else.
It is the most important at all times.
Yes. So what I want to see is Dante Thornton ball out and just break out and emerge over the next 2 weeks.
You are so on the Dante Thornton bandwagon.
I was driving it so hard. If he lets me down, I'm going to be very, very, very disappointed in Dante Thornton.
I'll be disappointed in him for you. How about that? So tomorrow on the program, we're going to visit with Blake Topmeyer, who's fantastic, covers the SEC for Gannett, and hopefully my voice will get a little bit better. Sorry you had to struggle through this. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation